You're watching Public Comment, Sean O'Connor's video diary vlog focusing on politics, culture, and self. Good day, folks. I want to talk more with you about my notion of vlogging and my absolute fascination with this beautiful medium. Like I said yesterday, I care very deeply about preserving records of personal contemplations as a way to better understand the self in relation to society, environment, and time for both contemporary social purposes and journalistic historical purposes. Now I wonder, what does it mean to really know somebody? And I mean the person beyond the sales pitch, though not necessarily excluding the sales pitch, because I realize and appreciate that we are all, in part, the work that we are so passionate about. Some people can't relate to my love for commercials and ads. Really, I enjoy them in so many respects. I don't mind that somebody would like my money. I only mind if that's all someone cares about with respect to his or her interaction with me. So, commercials and ads for products which are of high quality, I actually find them inspirational. They make me feel a part of a culture, society, a part of improving conditions. Still, there is much to be troubled with when it comes to how we approach our productivity, consumerism, materialism, commercialism, capitalism, etc. Think, for example, of what goes behind the production of our most cherished electronics. And it's not just Apple, where worker suicide in China has been a widely reported issue over the past decade. That's not the only case where we see abuses and exploitation of workers. It's an issue with Samsung as well. There's an interesting USA Today article recently written by, and I apologize if I pronounce these names incorrectly, Pham Thi Minh Hang and Joseph D. Gangi. And here's what they write. It's worth thinking about. Quote, "Our organizations explored this hidden story by conducting in-depth, open-ended, confidential interviews with 45 women who work on the assembly lines at 2 Samsung factories in Vietnam. What we found was shocking. All the workers we interviewed reported that they experienced episodes of dizziness or fainting at work. High noise levels violated legal limits. After standing at work for 70 to 80 hours a week, they reported pain in their bones, joints, and legs. Not a single worker we interviewed received a copy of her work contract, a violation of Vietnamese labor law." End quote. Again, that could be found at USA Today. Of course, I'll link you to it. There's also, by the way, Huawei. We know that company is deeply embedded in and subsidized by a totalitarian communist regime in China. So, the three titans of the smartphones, they really give us this amazing technology at the expense of extremely unethical practices. Bringing this back then to knowing a person, I wonder what's the relationship between the degree of permissiveness humanity on a global level possesses with respect to the exploitation and harm behind the production of its most cherished technology and possessions, and perhaps the degree to which we really hold back from understanding our humanness, our souls, our sense of selves. I must report to you, I felt really, for the first time since I began this vlog, just a short 3 weeks ago, a bit of insecurity this morning, trying to wrap my mind around the sense of my purpose here, especially in some kind of marketable expression about it. What the hell am I really doing, and why am I doing it? That's what I wondered. And I worried if I came across to you as too professional for the medium somehow, or too unprofessional, too informal. And I found comfort in thinking of this vlog that I recently watched by a gentleman who goes by the name Daniel D.C. Becker. And of course, I will link you to his channel. He began a vlog to document his experience with colon cancer. It was a vlog about anxiety, very specifically, this particular entry that comes to my mind. And in this vlog, he opens up about his temptation to delete the vlog he's making, or at least not share it. But he stops himself from doing that. It's a cancer vlog number 71, Anxiety is the title. And here's what he says. He says, I don't want to hide this aspect of myself. He says that to do so, quote, feels like giving up. So I'm going to put this out there. This is me, for better or worse. That's what he says. And I can relate to that. I don't want to hide my thoughts. I mean, I don't feel a need to tell you everything. Not at all. But that does raise a question, doesn't it? How does one decide that which one should share? After all, privacy too is a wonderful value. I believe privacy is a part of one's sense of self. And that the choice of keeping this or that private is additionally what contributes to a sense of self. But how then do I decide what goes into the private category and what gets placed into the share with the rest of humanity category? This, of course, addresses a wider issue, I believe, that issue of those aspects of ourselves we keep to ourselves. Some people perhaps, ironically, could actually focus on sharing less and could overwhelm us, inundate us with more of themselves than we might want to know. But the question of what about others we are curious about, I think that's an interesting issue too. From my point of view, as I'm thinking of it now, the thoughts that I like to share are the ones, oh, sorry about the sound, I accidentally kicked something there. The thoughts I like to share are the ones I find have been best vetted, or that I've vetted meaningfully. Thoughts I feel a degree of confidence in sharing. Opinions I have confidence in. Maybe judicious sharing of the self has a root in the realm of opinion. That is to say, we have put enough thought in some aspects of ourselves to have some degree of logically, factually supported opinion on that topic. That's my theory, at least as of now, on the matter. I think it may make some sense, and I think also it does connect to the social media concept. Like I said yesterday, vlogging in particular offers a counterbalance to tweeting on social media, counterbalance also to Instagram. Vlogging potentially offers more deeply contemplated, thorough, longer-winded thought. In contrast, the tweet is limited to 280 characters, unless you go live, and the same, very similar with Instagram. So my love for vlogging is necessarily a love, more broadly speaking, of social media. And did I mention to you, I think in another video, about the irony of this all and how shy I've actually been for most of my life? Social media speaks lately to a major frustration in life that I've had and finally discovered an outlet for. A feeling of an immense weight consisting of an abundance of contemplations that felt all too off the record, which I wanted on the record. Social media puts it on the record for as long as the social media sites care to preserve that which we publish on their sites. Anyway, that's that for the time being. I did also want to discuss with you, I wanted to just utter a thought on Europe, the European parliamentary elections that conclude today. Europe, I must say, is a place I wish I had paid more attention to in life, a place I hope one day I get to visit. As you may discover is widely reported, the key issues relevant to these elections include mass immigration, Islamization, nationalism and populism versus centralized European control, quite like our states' rights versus federalism debate. To me, and you might have noted this from previous vlogs, the standout issue of interest is the question of nationalism versus centralization. And even more widely, I would say nationalism versus globalism. A question which has long been on my mind is this: what is the moral basis for the special distinction that we call country of fragmented political entities, regions, etc.? To be clear, I am not asking what the purpose of government as such is. That's an entirely different question. From an evolutionary perspective, of course, I think country or nation does make sense. Humanity spread itself out, and the question of order and resources loomed. However, as global international society sophisticates and deepens its connection through communication technologies and improved alliances, I do think we ought to re-examine what we mean when we identify with and distinguish ourselves nationally, and beyond the context of laws we are subject to, beyond the jurisdictional context, that is to say. Ideology and philosophy, of course, are key as much as economic integration is. Alliances and unions like the United States or the European Union speak to certain constitutional and fundamental values and principles that in theory or in legal practice are supposed to be shared. Postmodernism has complicated this. Even if not in fact the actual intention of postmodern philosophers, I think notions of extreme relativism are severely prone to fragmentation and nationalism. Ironically, even extreme individualism. I say this as an individualist myself. The point is this: I believe there is a sort of global philosophical pressure in the realm of identity, the protection of individual autonomy, and reconciling that with universal interests. What compels us to say, this land must be American land, or French, or Chinese, or Kenyan, or Russian, etc.? And what justifies that? How much less compelled would people be to lean towards increasing nationalism where they live if economic anxiety were no longer an issue because... it looks like I had a little writing glitch here. But I wanted to ask, how much less compelled would people be to lean towards nationalism if economic anxiety were no longer an issue? How much of nationalism is directly fueled by economic anxiety? And what of this impulse, therefore, to defer to tribalism? Now, I really can't speak to so many of the factors specifically pertaining to Europe, and especially with respect to these current parliamentary elections within the European Union. I'm not really educated on this topic so much, but we know that Brexit is in recent memory. We know that the United Kingdom has done away with Theresa May as the political leader, the prime minister. How much of all of this is to do with economic anxiety, trade frustrations, impact of mass immigration, and just that question of resources available as we watch this shakeup? I wonder if we were to look at this all as universally as we could. You know, my wife was saying something to this effect to me yesterday while discussing this book she's reading. Maybe you've heard of it, Blaming the Victim by William Ryan. She mentioned when discussing the book, thinking about isolated issues as things which could happen to any of us. So trying to examine things in a universal way, then. And then thinking, therefore, not so much just saying, oh, well, here's this incident over there, but here's an issue which could happen anywhere. You know, it makes us wonder if, as we look at all this nationalism and economic anxiety, we want to have a conversation about how to fight poverty in a very general sense. Yes, I realize this is a loaded issue, but I could tie this all back to what I said at the beginning of this vlog. Thinking about people, as opposed to robots we are detached from, who are producing the lovely things we buy in life, while in the midst of crushing, undignifying conditions, all for an unfair price. I think if we could at least start addressing that issue on a deeper, more impactful level, that has to speak to the worldwide economic anxiety, at least a little bit. So that's all I want to say for now. I do believe I rest my case to some degree on this topic, and I absolutely look forward to chatting with you all tomorrow. Again, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And yes, I shall chat with you tomorrow. Bye.